For 500,000 years, Earth had slept beneath layers of dust, stone, and silence. The blue oceans were gone, the continents dry and cracked, but from orbit, it still looked almost beautiful, like an old scar that had healed but never forgotten the wound. The explorers of the Vortani Guild didn't come looking for beauty. They came for history, for data, for proof that the legends of the first builders were real. Every civilization in the galaxy had old myths about a race called humans, strange beings who appeared suddenly, rose faster than anyone else, and then vanished without a trace. Some believed they had destroyed themselves. Others whispered that they had left the galaxy entirely. When the Vortani ship Tarvel dropped out of warp above the quiet system, its crew expected nothing more than sand and radiation. But their scanners began to scream. "Planet 3 has metallic readings. Too regular," said the sensor officer. His voice cracked through the comm. "And they go deep, very deep." The ship's leader, an elder explorer known as Varn, leaned forward in his chair. "Define regular." The officer hesitated. "Geometric structures. Patterns beneath the crust. It's not nature. Something built this world." The bridge fell silent. Everyone on board knew the legends. A vanished species that could bend matter, command stars, and disappear without leaving even a satellite behind. Varn gave the order to descend. As their shuttle entered Earth's dusty sky, they saw a wasteland that stretched endlessly. No green, no blue, just dunes and craters, broken towers half buried in stone. Their craft landed near what had once been the top of a mountain, though now it looked more like a hill covered in strange black glass. The air was thin, cold, but breathable. They stepped out carefully, instrument scanning. Their boots left prints where no feet had stepped for 500,000 years. A young explorer named Reth noticed it first, a flat, circular surface beneath the dust. He brushed away the sand and revealed a pattern of smooth metal that shimmered faintly in the weak sunlight. "This isn't natural," he whispered. They called Varn over. The old leader knelt, touching the surface gently. It was warm. A faint vibration passed through the ground like something deep below was humming. They exchanged nervous glances. "Mark the site," Varn ordered. "We'll bring in the diggers." For the next few days, massive drilling machines worked through stone and compressed soil. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The layers of rock looked unnatural, cut cleanly as if placed there on purpose. After 3 days, one of the drills broke through empty space. The hollow beneath was enormous. When they dropped a probe inside, the video feed returned darkness for several seconds. Then light reflected off polished walls of black metal. The shape was impossible to describe. It wasn't a cave. It was an engineered vault. And within that vault, their sensors detected movement, tiny flickers of light, steady rhythms, and mechanical pulses still running after 500,000 years. "Energy signature confirmed," said the technician. "Source unknown. But it's not decayed. It's alive." They stared at the readings in disbelief. No power system could run that long. Not without maintenance, not without fuel. Still, curiosity pushed them further. They widened the hole, sending down more drones. The footage revealed something unbelievable. Massive metallic hulls lined in perfect rows, stretching beyond sight. Each one was hundreds of meters long, shaped like ships designed for battle. "Is this a fleet?" someone asked. Varn said nothing for a long time. He just watched the screens. The shapes were unmistakable. Warships. Countless of them. He finally spoke. "Begin recording. Every detail. We may have found the resting place of the first builders." Word spread across the galaxy in days. Dozens of species sent messages to confirm, to demand access, to offer alliance. But the Vortani Guild kept quiet. They didn't want fame. They wanted to understand. For weeks they studied the ships from a distance. No one dared enter. The atmosphere inside the vault was still pressurized. That alone was a miracle. The metal hulls were smooth, untouched by corrosion. Each one bore a single marking in ancient Terran script, ESF, followed by a number. One engineer speculated the letters stood for Earth Space Fleet. It became official then. The world below was indeed Earth. A discovery like that should have been celebrated. Instead, the Vortani felt uneasy. There was something watching them. Not alive, but aware. Whenever they approached too close, instruments glitched. Cameras froze. Tools stopped working. It was as if the planet didn't want to be disturbed. One night, Reth couldn't resist. He sneaked into the vault with a small scanning drone. He moved quietly between the massive hulls, light from his wrist lamp bouncing off their surfaces. Each ship was identical, but one caught his attention. It looked older, heavier, but its surface had lines that faintly glowed blue. He reached out to touch it. The moment his glove brushed the hull, the air around him crackled with energy. His scanner went white and a deep vibration shook the ground. He stumbled back, eyes wide. The ship's surface lit up completely, glowing brighter and brighter until it looked like a rising sun underground. "Varn, it's waking up," he shouted through the comm. Above the surface, the ground trembled. Dust fell like rain. The entire dig site came alive with noise, alarms, flashing warnings, energy readings spiking beyond safe limits. Every ship in the vault began to pulse with light, one after another, in perfect sequence. It looked like a heartbeat, a giant mechanical heartbeat. Varn ordered an evacuation, but before they could retreat, a voice, cold, metallic, yet strangely calm, filled the air. Identity confirmed. Human command protocols restored. The aliens froze. They didn't understand the words, but they felt the authority in the tone. Then silence. The lights dimmed again, leaving faint blue trails across the surface of the ships. The vibration stopped, but the readings didn't fall. Power was still building. Reth looked at his wrist screen and whispered, "They're charging up." Varn stood at the edge of the pit, watching the faint glow that now pulsed across the desert floor. He didn't speak, didn't blink. For a long moment, no one moved. The planet, once silent, now hummed softly, like something ancient was breathing again after eons of rest. Later, when they returned to orbit, the Vortani scientists argued about what had happened. Some believed it was an automated defense system. Others thought it was a memory, a machine's way of saying, "I am still here." But the readings told a different story. Across the surface of the planet, hundreds of buried facilities were activating one by one, all transmitting faint, coded signals to a single point, the core of the planet. "What if this isn't a defense system?" whispered one engineer. "What if it's an awakening signal?" No one answered. From orbit, the sensors detected faint energy lines forming across continents, connecting every old bunker, every ancient site. Earth wasn't just a graveyard. It was a sleeping machine. And now, for the first time in 500,000 years, it had started to wake. Varn watched from the viewing deck, his reflection shining faintly against the black of space. He couldn't help but feel that something bigger than discovery had just begun. They had come seeking history, but what they found wasn't history at all. It was preparation. And deep within the planet's core, beyond metal and rock, a voice, ancient, mechanical, unmistakably human, murmured a final phrase no alien could yet understand. "Stand by. Humanity will return." The Vortani ship drifted in silence, its crew speechless as the planet below pulsed with blue veins of light. The legends were true. Earth hadn't died. It had simply gone to sleep, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The following morning, the Vortani camp was quiet. No one spoke much, and even the usual hum of machines seemed softer, like the air itself was waiting. The surface of Earth looked the same, dry, lifeless, endless, yet every scanner showed impossible readings. The whole planet pulsed with weak but steady energy. Inside the main command tent, the crew gathered around a holographic map showing bright blue lines spreading beneath the ground. They looked like veins under skin. "Whatever Reth touched yesterday," said one technician carefully. "It didn't just wake that ship. It triggered a chain reaction. Something under the crust is feeding power into thousands of these sites." The leader, Varn, frowned. "Can we stop it?" The technician shook his head. "Even if we could, I'm not sure we should. This is not a weapon, at least not yet. It's coordination, communication." Outside, dust storms rolled slowly across the horizon, glowing faintly in the nightlight of distant stars. The Vortani explorers felt uneasy. This was no ordinary discovery. This was contact with something ancient and alive in ways they couldn't yet explain. Varn gave a quiet order. "Send the drones back into the vault. We need to know what's moving down there." The team obeyed. Dozens of small flying drones buzzed into the vast underground chamber. Their light scanned over the rows of ships that stretched into infinity. For a long time, nothing happened. The silence was heavy, almost sacred. Then one of the drones spotted something. A ship's side opening slightly. A door sliding open after 500,000 years. From inside came a rush of stale air and a flicker of light, like the ship was breathing. The cameras caught glimpses of corridors lined with metal, dark screens and seats built for something tall and bipedal. Human. Dust floated through the air like snow. "Try linking with its internal systems," said Varn. The engineers worked quickly, trying to connect their scanners to the ship's old interface. To their shock, the system responded. It recognized their signal, but not as a threat. Instead, it sent back a question written in an ancient Earth language that no one had seen in living memory. The message translated roughly to, "Identify yourself." "State command authorization." The aliens hesitated. They didn't know what to say. So they did the simplest thing. They sent a signal of peace. For several seconds, there was no reply. Then, to everyone's surprise, the old warship dimmed its lights, and a new signal appeared on their screens. It wasn't a message. It was a memory, a visual recording still intact after hundreds of millennia. The image that appeared on the holographic table silenced everyone in the room. It was a human, standing tall, wearing a dark uniform with a silver emblem shaped like a star. The human's eyes were steady, his face tired but calm. His voice, when it came through the translator, was deep and deliberate. "If you are watching this," the recording said, "then the world has changed. We, the last of Earth's kind, built this place not as a tomb but as a promise. A time will come when someone, anyone, reaches us again. That will mean the galaxy has survived. And if it has survived, then it must be warned." The crew leaned forward, silent. The recording continued. "The fleet you see before you was designed to sleep. We buried it here when we left, programmed to awaken only when new life finds it. If you are not human, do not fear. We are not your enemies. But understand this, our awakening means a shadow is returning." The hologram flickered for a moment, and the man's tone grew darker. 500,000 years ago, we fought something no living world should ever face. We called it the Nullstar Swarm, a devourer of suns, a hunger made of machines. It spread across systems faster than light itself. When the war ended, we had nothing left. We left our homeworld asleep, buried our weapons, and sealed this message. If the swarm ever rises again, these ships will rise with it. Then the recording ended. No one moved. The tent was filled only with the soft hum of the projectors. Reth, who had triggered the awakening, spoke quietly. "So they didn't vanish. They prepared." Varn nodded slowly, still staring at the empty air where the hologram had been. "They saw the future coming. And they left a warning." Another technician whispered, "If this swarm returns, are we ready for it?" No one answered that. The idea of something powerful enough to destroy the humans, a species that could build ships that lasted 500,000 years, was terrifying. Meanwhile, deep underground, the lights on the ships were growing brighter. The power readings were no longer faint. They were climbing sharply, spreading across continents. Entire mountain ranges glowed faintly at night. From orbit, the Vortani watched in awe as new shapes appeared on the planet's surface. Perfect geometric outlines of buried structures, glowing blue and gold. The entire world was transforming into something they couldn't explain. Soon the signal changed again. This time it wasn't just internal. The awakened systems began transmitting into space, not in one direction, but in all of them. The message was rhythmic, coded, pulsing like a heartbeat across the void. "Varn," said one of the communication officers, her voice tense. "That signal, it's leaving the solar system. How far will it go?" "Everywhere," she said softly. "It's broadcasting across the galaxy." The realization hit them all at once. The human fleet wasn't just waking up. It was calling something. Maybe it was calling for allies. Or maybe it was warning something ancient that humanity was awake again. The following days passed in restless silence. The Vortani tried to decode the broadcast, but its structure was beyond any known language. It wasn't just sound. It was energy, folded information, as if every transmission carried entire libraries of meaning. Some of the younger explorers grew afraid. They wanted to leave orbit, report their findings, and let others handle it. But Varn refused. "We started this," he said. "We'll see it through." On the fifth day, one of the ships inside the vault rose from its resting place. The ground trembled as massive support pillars crumbled and dust exploded upward. The old warship lifted gently, engines humming softly, engines that shouldn't have been able to work after 500,000 years. It floated into the air, glowing faintly with blue light. The Vortani ships recorded everything, wide-eyed, speechless. The human ship hovered in the air for several minutes. Then slowly its hull split open to reveal a glowing sphere, a core pulsing with energy that resonated through every scanner in the system. "It's scanning us," said a technician. "Don't move," Varn ordered. After several tense seconds, the warship turned slightly, facing toward the stars. The glow from its core intensified, then narrowed into a single beam that shot across space, disappearing beyond all sensors. "What was that?" asked one of the explorers. The reply came from the analyst team a few minutes later. "It's a signal, but not a distress call. It's a map." "A map to what?" "To other sleeping fleets," said the analyst quietly. "There are more like this, on other worlds." The entire room went silent again. If the humans had hidden one fleet here, maybe they had hidden others, across systems, across galaxies, and if all of them were starting to wake, the idea was almost too big to imagine. That night, as the Vortani ship orbited over the half-lit Earth, Varn looked down at the glowing lines spreading across continents like veins of light. He didn't see a dead world anymore. He saw something waiting, something ancient that had never truly gone away. The humans had been gone for 500,000 years, yet somehow, their presence still filled the air. Their machines still obeyed them. Their message still echoed through time. And as the Vortani crew watched, the first of the warships broke through the clouds and rose into orbit, its surface shining like a star reborn. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Something old was waking up, something built by human hands. The Vortani ships hung silently above Earth. Below them, the blue planet turned slowly, calm and peaceful. It looked like any other world, but now everyone on board knew it was not. The discovery of the sleeping fleet had shaken every corner of the galaxy. The message found on the surface still echoed in their minds. "If you find this world asleep, do not disturb it, unless the stars themselves begin to fade." But curiosity had won. They had touched the vaults. They had activated something that was never meant to be touched again. Now, deep beneath Earth's surface, the lights were growing brighter. The old machines, buried for hundreds of millennia, came to life one after another. The hum had become a pulse, strong and steady like the beating of a heart. On the main observation deck, the alien explorers watched the planet's holographic image. Faint streams of energy were spreading across the continents, forming a network that covered the entire globe. "What is this?" one asked. "Power systems," another replied quietly. "Massive ones." It looked like the planet itself was waking up. Then the transmissions began. Short bursts of coded signals, unreadable, ancient, and human. Each pulse repeated a single phrase in a language no one could fully translate. But the translation bots tried their best, and the result sent a chill through the room. Fleet command initializing. The crew froze. Every screen in the command room flashed. Systems connected automatically without permission. For the first time in their history, the Vortani could not control their own ship. The human systems had taken over. The lights dimmed, then brightened again. The main screen displayed a message written in simple human words. "This is Earth Defense Network. Identify yourself." No one dared to move. Finally, the captain stepped forward. He typed slowly, careful not to sound like a threat. "We are explorers." "We come in peace," the reply came instantly. "You have awakened the Terran Defense Fleet. State the status of the galaxy." The captain hesitated. "The galaxy is alive," he answered softly. "Civilizations have grown. There is peace." There was a long pause. Then the system responded again. "Peace confirmed." "Reason for activation?" The captain exchanged nervous looks with his crew. "We touched the surface. We didn't know what this was." The next reply appeared slower this time, almost like it was thinking. "Unauthorized access detected. But threat analysis, low." Everyone in the room let out a quiet breath. But before anyone could relax, something else happened. The ship's sensors detected massive energy readings coming from deep space, far beyond the edges of the Milky Way. Something was moving out there. The readings were old, familiar, and terrible. The Vortani scientists compared the patterns and froze. "It's them," one whispered. The swarm. 500,000 years ago they had vanished. The same creatures that once drove humanity to create their war fleets. They were returning. The alien captain looked at the display. "They're still out there," he said. "And they're coming back." Then, as if the planet itself understood, Earth responded. The clouds began to swirl. The oceans glowed with light. Massive energy lines stretched from pole to pole. The planet's magnetic field expanded until it touched the orbiting ships. Every system in space started to flicker. The voice returned, calm, firm, and unmistakably human. External threat detected. Initiating global defense protocols. The air on the ship grew heavy. It was not a voice of anger or revenge. It was a voice that sounded like duty, ancient and absolute. Across the surface, the ground began to shift. Dust lifted from old fields. Mountains shook as enormous structures rose from underground, tall, smooth, glowing. They looked like temples made of silver and light. Then from deep beneath the oceans, shapes emerged, enormous, majestic, and silent. They broke through the waves and hovered into the sky. Ships, human ships. They were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Sleek, dark vessels covered in strange markings, powered by energy so bright it looked alive. The sky filled with their silhouettes. Hundreds, then thousands, rising together in perfect formation. The Vortani could only watch in awe as Earth's sleeping fleet awakened fully for the first time in 500,000 years. No one could speak. It felt like standing before gods. Each ship emitted a low resonance like a choir of deep voices. The sound traveled through space, soft but powerful, and then, one by one, their engines ignited. A massive sphere of blue light surrounded the planet. It looked like a shield, an invisible wall of protection covering the entire world. The human systems transmitted one more message to the alien explorers. Protocol 7 activated. Guardian fleet ready. Then all signals went silent again. For several minutes, nothing moved. The ships hung still, glowing faintly against the darkness. The aliens stared at the sight, hardly able to breathe. Then a new sound filled the air, not mechanical, not digital but human. It was a voice, faint but clear, echoing through every communicator, every speaker, every radio. "You have awakened the Guardians. Do not be afraid," the crew froze. No one had ever heard a human voice before. The message continued. "We are the protectors of life. Our duty does not end with time. If the darkness has returned, we will stand again." Then, as if responding to a signal from the stars, the ships above Earth began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. They turned outward, not toward the planet, but toward deep space. The aliens' instruments showed that each ship was locking onto a distant target, somewhere far beyond the galaxy's edge. One of the Vortani whispered, "They're going to meet it." The captain nodded. The swarm. In perfect silence, the first fleet disappeared into the void, leaving bright trails of light behind. More followed. Thousands of them, until the sky above Earth was empty again. And just as quickly as it had begun, the planet returned to peace. The lights dimmed. The hum softened. The air stilled. Earth had gone quiet once more. But now, everyone in orbit knew what it truly was. Not a forgotten relic, but a guardian asleep beneath the soil, waiting for the next storm. The alien captain stood before the viewing glass, looking down at the blue sphere. "They knew," he said quietly. "They knew this day would come." One of the younger crew members asked softly, "Do you think they're still alive? Somewhere?" The captain watched the last fading trails of the human ships. If they built all this, maybe they never truly died. He turned back to his console and looked at the final signal coming from Earth. It wasn't a command or a warning, just a single message, repeated again and again. "Protect the living, always." The captain bowed his head slightly, as if honoring a memory. "Then we will." The stars outside glimmered brighter, their reflections dancing across the ship's surface. Somewhere far beyond them, the awakened human fleet raced through the void, toward the ancient enemy that had once nearly destroyed everything. But this time, the galaxy wasn't alone. They had awakened something greater, something made not of fear, but of unbreakable will. For the first time in countless years, every world, every species, and every living being shared the same thought. Humanity has returned. And in that thought, there was both fear and hope. Because if the humans had truly risen again, then maybe the galaxy still had a chance. Back on Earth, deep beneath the quiet soil, the last of the vault doors closed. The lights inside dimmed, but one small screen stayed on. Its text glowed softly in the dark. Activation complete. Awaiting command, the hum continued, slow, calm, and steady. The Guardians were awake, and somewhere in the vastness of space, their enemies finally realized the truth. The world they once tried to destroy still remembered them. And it would not forget. The galaxy was no longer silent. Every deep space observatory, every listening post, and every explorer ship across hundreds of worlds had picked up the same strange signal. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, steady, and powerful, repeating every 60 seconds. No one could trace where it began. No one could translate it. But everyone felt the same chill when they heard it. It came from the direction of an old forgotten star system, the one that once held a world called Earth. For most, that name was only a myth. But for the Vortani explorers who had seen it with their own eyes, it was no myth at all. They had been there. They had seen the ships rise. Now the whole galaxy wanted to know what Earth had awakened. The Vortani Guild tried to stay quiet. They sent encrypted reports hoping to calm the panic, but it was too late. The signal had already reached the great powers of the galaxy, the Zarn Dominion, the Core Alliance, the Rethan Collectives. And when powerful nations get scared, they act fast. Within days, fleets from every empire began to move toward the Sol system. Varn and his crew were still orbiting Earth when the first warships arrived. Dozens of them, huge, shining, and nervous. They carried diplomats, scientists, and commanders who all demanded the same thing. Tell us what you found. The Vortani didn't know what to say. They brought the newcomers to the surface, showing them the vast underground vaults, the glowing ships, the sleeping machines that hummed like old engines warming up. Some of the visitors were amazed, others frightened. One ambassador whispered, "These ships look old, but they feel alive." He was right. Each human warship vibrated faintly like a sleeping beast breathing under its breath. And deeper in the planet, the power readings kept climbing. That night, the fleet's lights brightened again, this time spreading to every continent. Earth's surface began to glow like a web of blue rivers, connecting mountains, valleys, and oceans long gone. The aliens watched from orbit as the pattern became clear. Earth itself was a single machine. Then, without warning, every ship in orbit received a transmission. It wasn't sound. It wasn't words. It was emotion, calm, ancient, and powerful. The systems translated only one phrase: "This world belongs to humanity. You are guests." Panic spread through the alien fleet. Some ships powered their weapons, afraid of an attack, but nothing came. The warships on the surface didn't move. The lights only pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Varn stepped forward on the comlink and spoke calmly. "We are explorers. We mean no harm. We only wish to understand." For a long moment there was silence. Then the signal changed again. A new message appeared, this time visual. A figure formed in the air above Earth's atmosphere, a hologram larger than any ship, visible even from orbit. It was a human, wearing a dark uniform marked with symbols of an ancient star. His expression was calm, his eyes filled with something that felt both sad and strong. His voice echoed across the system. "To those who have come after us," he said slowly, "know that you walk among our legacy. We left not in defeat but in purpose. The galaxy was young, fragile, unready for what we had seen. So we slept, to give it time to grow." Every crew member, every diplomat listened in silence. The hologram continued. "You have awakened the first fleet. That means the cycle has begun again. The darkness we called the Null Star Swarm has returned." The word sent waves of fear through every ship. The name alone sounded heavy, ancient, dangerous. The hologram explained further. The swarm is not a species. It is not alive in the way you understand life. It is hunger given form. It devours suns, consumes metal and thought. When it arrives, no negotiation is possible, only resistance. The image flickered and scenes of war filled the sky. Humans fighting under burning stars, massive ships firing beams of light that cut through darkness. Planets falling silent one by one. It looked like the end of everything. Then the image cleared, showing the human again. We buried our fleets not to hide but to endure. Each sleeping world holds the strength of 1,000 suns. If you are not our enemies, you may stand with us. But if you are not ready, leave this place. When we awaken, the war will begin again. The message ended. For several long minutes, no one spoke. Finally, one of the alien commanders whispered, Did he say the war will begin again? Varn nodded slowly. Yes, and I think it already has. He pointed to the scanners. Far beyond the edge of the system, faint distortions had started to appear. Signals unlike anything they'd ever seen. Moving patterns, eating light, bending space. The swarm was real. It was coming. Back on the planet's surface, the human ships began to shift position. Slowly, silently, they rose from their ancient vaults, forming lines and formations that matched the holographic images. Every ship moved with perfect precision, as if invisible hands guided them. The ground trembled as mountains cracked and hidden hangars opened, releasing more vessels. Larger ones, carriers and dreadnoughts, shining like old gods returning from myth. The Vortani and other alien crews could only watch. Can anyone control them? One asked nervously. Varn shook his head. They don't need control. They already know what to do. Hours later, a strange silence filled the system. All the awakened ships now floated above the planet, motionless but alive. Their cores burned bright white, brighter than stars, then as if obeying an unseen order. The entire fleet turned toward the outer edge of the galaxy, toward the direction of the coming darkness. A final transmission came through the comms. It was short, simple, and human. Protocol. 7 Defense of the living galaxy, engage, and with that, the first wave of human warships vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving trails of light that stretched like comets across space. The aliens were left in stunned silence. For centuries, they had believed themselves the rulers of the galaxy. They had believed humans were just an old legend, a ghost race that vanished long ago. Now they realized the truth. Humans hadn't vanished. They had built something greater than empire, a promise that if the galaxy ever needed them again, they would return. In the following days, more fleets began to rise from under the surface, fleets that had slept under oceans, deserts, and mountains. Each one joined the growing formation in orbit before jumping to hyperspace. Some alien scientists tried to communicate again, hoping to learn, to ask, to understand. But the human systems didn't respond. They were focused entirely on one mission, defending life itself. Varn stood at the viewing deck of his ship, watching as the last of the massive human dreadnoughts broke through the clouds. Its engines flared blue, leaving waves of light that rippled across the sky. They left this world to sleep. He whispered softly, but they never left their duty. His crew stood quietly beside him. Even those who didn't believe in legends felt something that day. Respect, awe, and a strange kind of comfort. Because in that moment, they all realized something simple and powerful. The galaxy was not alone. Someone long ago had cared enough to protect it. Someone had thought about the future, not their own, but the future of all life. And now, that promise was awake again. Far beyond the Sol system, where stars flickered in the dark, the first human ships reached the edge of the coming storm. They opened their massive wings and unleashed a light brighter than dawn. The battle for the galaxy's survival was about to begin. But back on Earth, under its cracked and ancient crust, the hum of machines continued. More lights came on, more systems awakened. Deep in the core, a voice, calm, proud, and unmistakably human, and spoke once more. Fleet status online. Awaiting return of command. Then silence again. Only the soft heartbeat of the planet remained, echoing through time, a reminder that even when the last human had vanished, their will had not. The galaxy would soon learn what it truly meant when humans promised to protect something. They didn't stop. They didn't quit. They didn't fade. They waited, and now, after 500,000 years, they were ready. Far from Earth, the stars began to dim. One by one, lights at the edge of the galaxy flickered out, as if someone had drawn a curtain across the sky. The darkness was not empty, and it moved. Slowly, steadily, like a tide. The null star swarm had returned. The first alien stations to see it sent desperate messages begging for help. They described a wave of black metal, millions of machines moving as one, eating everything they touched. Energy, light, even data, and nothing escaped. Then their signals stopped. Back on Earth, the awakened fleet received the reports instantly. The ships didn't hesitate. They formed precise lines across orbit, their engines glowing white-blue, ready for war. The Vortani explorers could only watch in silence. They had triggered all this, the awakening, the warning, the return. And now they stood as witnesses to something the galaxy had not seen in 500,000 years, humanity's war fleet alive again. In the command center of his ship, Varn watched the holographic display of the galactic map. The swarm was spreading like ink in water. No empire, no alliance had the power to slow it. But as the darkness grew, a new pattern began to appear. Light, human light. Across hundreds of dead systems, dormant fleets came online, one after another. Ships hidden under moons, inside asteroids, deep beneath frozen oceans all began to rise. Each one sent a single coded signal. Protocol 7 engaged, and when those signals reached Earth, the old machines under its crust responded instantly. The planet itself began to hum. The vibration could be felt even from orbit, a low, steady rhythm that made every monitor flicker. The ground split open in places, revealing golden light deep below. The aliens thought it was an earthquake. But the sensors showed something else. Earth wasn't breaking, and it was activating. Inside the planet's core, an enormous machine came to life. Its readings were beyond understanding, its power output greater than any starship in existence. Varn stared at the data, speechless.
What are they doing?
A soft voice came from the comm system. It was the same human voice that had spoken before, calm and firm. Earth command initializing, synchronizing all fleets. Prepare for contact. Every alien ship in orbit received the same message. Every species listening across space heard it too. For the first time in galactic history, billions of beings stopped what they were doing and listened to one voice, human, steady, and full of purpose. Then came the image. It filled the sky. The same ancient human commander, his face weathered but confident. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, "if you hear this, know that the hour we prepared for has come. We are the Earth Space Fleet. We were created to defend all life from extinction. The enemy you face cannot be reasoned with. It knows no peace, no mercy. But we do not fear it." His eyes lifted slightly as if he could see through time itself. "Once long ago we fought this darkness and won. Now you will fight beside us. Stand and remember. Humanity stands with you." The hologram faded. Then Earth released its power. Beams of blue-white energy shot from the planet's poles, racing into space. They spread like ripples through the void, reaching every awakened human fleet across the galaxy. The ship's engines flared brighter, their hulls glowing with fresh life. And then they moved. The largest dreadnoughts jumped first, leaving curved trails of light that vanished in seconds. The smaller ships followed, entire squadrons vanishing into the unknown, heading toward the swarm. For hours, the Vortani watched in silence as one by one, the ships left orbit. It felt like watching stars being born and then flying away. When the last vessel disappeared, only the quiet hum of Earth remained. The once dead planet now looked alive again, glowing softly like a giant heartbeat. Weeks passed. The galaxy waited. Reports began to filter in. Broken messages, faint transmissions, flashes of light seen across systems thought long lost. Each message carried the same tone of awe and disbelief. They came out of nowhere. Human ships, thousands of them. They're fighting the swarm and winning. Every world tuned in. One Vortani broadcast captured a clear image. A human dreadnought standing against a wave of black machines. Its shields glowed like fire as the swarm crashed against it. Then it fired. A beam of light sliced through the darkness, tearing it apart. The voice of a pilot, breathless and shaken, filled the transmission. "They're holding the line. One ship, just one ship, it is holding back an entire swarm." Hope spread like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's races united. They sent their own fleets to support the humans. The Vortani, the Rethans, even old rivals who had not spoken in ages. They all came, and at the center of it all, guiding them, were the old Earth warships. Their movements were precise, almost graceful, like they were performing a dance they had practiced long ago. Every transmission carried the same strange command code. Fleet Astreus. Guardian Protocol. Protect the living. On one of the Vortani relay stations, a young officer stared at the images streaming in. "They built all this," he whispered. "And then they left it behind. Just to save us," Varn stood beside him. "They didn't leave it behind," he said softly. "They left it for us." Back near Earth, the ground beneath the old vaults shifted again. More structures rose from the soil, tall spires, towers glowing gold in the darkness. They looked like beacons, each sending faint signals into deep space. When decoded, the signals carried no command, no warning, only a single line of text in the ancient Terran language. It said, "We fight for those who will come after." Meanwhile, on the front lines, the battle reached unimaginable scale. The human fleets fought alongside dozens of alien navies, forming a wall of light across the void. The swarm's endless black tide crashed against them. But for every ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. And at the center of it all, one ship stood larger than the rest. The dreadnought Astraeus, the first to awaken on Earth. It led the charge, its massive guns lighting up entire star systems. From distant worlds, beings who had never seen a human before watched in silence as their saviors, extinct for 500,000 years, fought for them again. Across planets, people began to say the same thing. Humanity has returned. On Earth, the ancient machines kept humming. They didn't sleep, they didn't stop. More signals left the planet, each one traveling farther into the universe. Some reached galaxies no one had ever explored. No one knew what they carried. Some thought it was strategy data. Others believed it was a message of unity. But one translation came through clearly. This is humanity's last mission: protect life at any cost. The war raged on for months. But slowly, steadily, the tide began to turn. The swarm, once unstoppable, started to fall back. Its edges dissolved under the human fleet's relentless light. Then one day a new signal reached Earth. It was simple. Primary threat neutralized. Standing by for deactivation. The words echoed through every satellite, every outpost, every ship in the Sol system. Varn closed his eyes. They did it. And as if hearing him, Earth began to quiet again. The lights that had covered the continent started to fade. The deep hum softened, fading into a peaceful stillness. The warships that remained in orbit powered down one by one, returning to sleep. The galaxy they had saved watched in silence, not knowing whether to cheer or cry. When the last ship settled back into the Earth's crust, the voice spoke one final time. Mission complete. Humanity returns to rest. Protect this peace well. The message ended. For days, no one spoke. It was as if the whole galaxy was afraid to break the silence. Then, slowly, they began to rebuild. And everywhere, people told the same story. The story of a world that had slept for 500,000 years and awakened to save them all. Children on distant planets drew pictures of blue ships in the sky. Artists painted the glowing Earth and called it the Guardian World. Varn stood once more on the planet's dusty surface. The sky above was quiet, calm. He looked up and smiled. "Thank you," he whispered. The wind carried his words into the silent air. Across the plains and mountains, down to the sleeping ships below, and deep within the planet's core, something faintly responded. A small pulse, a single heartbeat. The humans were gone. But their promise remained, and everyone in the galaxy knew, if darkness ever came again, Earth would wake once more. The galaxy was quiet again. For the first time in many ages, there were no distress calls, no desperate cries for help across the stars. The endless void felt peaceful, almost gentle, yet that silence carried weight, the kind that followed great sacrifice. Earth had gone silent once more. Its glowing lights faded into calm, its surface still and untouched. To anyone passing by, it looked like an ordinary world, a blue sphere drifting in the black sea of space. But those who knew the truth could never see it the same way again. Across the galaxy, people still talked about the humans. Some called them saviors. Others whispered about their power. A few even wondered if they were truly gone, or only watching from afar, waiting for another storm. Varn stood on the balcony of the Vortani High Council Tower, staring at the image of Earth projected in the sky. He remembered the moment the planet had awakened, the thunder, the light, the voice that spoke across the stars. He remembered the way the human fleets had fought, fearless, coordinated, unstoppable. They had faced something no living being could imagine and won, and then they had gone back to sleep. as if peace itself was all they ever wanted. Reports from the front lines confirmed it again and again. The swarm was gone. The black tide that had devoured countless civilizations was now nothing but drifting dust and silent wreckage. Whole sectors of space were safe again. Stars that had been dark for millennia shone bright. Life would grow there once more. But even as the galaxy celebrated, there was an ache in that joy, because no one could forget who had made it possible. On one distant colony world, a child asked her teacher, "Where did the humans go?" The teacher smiled softly and replied, "They went home to rest." "But will they wake up again?" the child asked. The teacher looked out at the stars. "Only if we need them to." And so life moved on. The Vortani and other races joined together to form a new alliance. They called it the Pact of Dawn. It was made not from fear but from hope. They vowed never to let darkness spread so far again, never to allow pride or division to blind them. At the center of their symbol was not their own emblem, but Earth's, a simple blue circle. Surrounded by a ring of light, ships from every race visited the Sol system to pay respect. They never landed. None dared disturb the sleeping world. Instead, they orbited quietly, leaving offerings, floating lights, messages, and monuments of gratitude. Some even built satellites that played peaceful music over the skies, songs of unity and courage. One of those satellites captured something strange one night, a faint pulse of energy from Earth's surface, small, rhythmic like a heartbeat. It was brief, barely noticeable, but enough to send whispers through the fleets above. "Are they still there?" one pilot asked. "Maybe," another replied. "Maybe they just want us to know they're watching." No one could confirm it, but deep down everyone hoped it was true. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued to rebuild. Planets once ruined by the swarm came alive again. Forests grew where metal had melted. Cities rose from ashes. People laughed again. Children played without fear of the stars above them. But even in peace, stories spread. Stories about humans that sounded too incredible to believe. Some said their ships were powered by the sun itself. Others claimed they could think faster than any living being, moving like lightning in the dark. A few even said the humans had not died at all. They had simply become part of their machines, eternal guardians sleeping beneath the soil of their home. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: humanity had changed the galaxy forever. On a quiet night in the Vortani capital, Varn attended a gathering where leaders from 100 worlds spoke about the new age of peace. As the speeches ended, the hall lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared, a massive image of Earth. Surrounded by glowing stars, a voice began to play, the same voice from long ago, recorded during the war. "If you are hearing this," the voice said, "I know that you are the future we fought for. Protect your worlds, protect each other. Never forget that light exists because someone once chose to stand in darkness." The hall was silent. Some wiped tears from their eyes. When the projection faded, Varn whispered quietly, "They were not just warriors. They were teachers." After that day, the Pact of Dawn made a promise to teach every young being about the humans, not as myths but as examples of what courage truly meant. Children in schools learned about the Battle of the Void, about Earth's last stand, about the fleets that rose after 500,000 years of sleep, and every child knew this line by heart. They came when the galaxy needed them most. Years turned into decades. The swarm's ruins drifted into distant black holes. The memories of war faded into peace. But the stories remained, whispered under starlight, told around tables, sung by travelers. And somewhere deep beneath Earth's surface, the great machines continued their silent vigil. In the darkness of the underground chambers, faint lights still blinked in patterns, ancient code unreadable to most. One day, a small change appeared in the sequence. The machines detected something, not a threat, but a signal. Far across the stars, a new civilization had sent a message. It wasn't a call for help or a sign of war. It was something simple, a greeting. A young world, untouched by conflict, had looked up into the night sky, seen the old records, and sent a message to the void. "Thank you, humans. We hope you are at peace." For a moment, deep inside Earth, one of the old control cores flickered. A faint hum ran through the cables. The response was brief, just one signal sent back through the stars. When translated, it said, "We are watching. Keep the light alive." The young civilization received it and shared it across their world. For them, it was proof that humanity still existed in some way, not as bodies, not as voices, but as guardians of hope. And so the legend grew stronger. Centuries later, when explorers traveled to the edge of the galaxy, they found strange monuments floating in deep space, smooth black stones carved with glowing blue letters. They were written in the old human language, repeating the same line again and again, "We will return when you need us." Some thought they were just remnants of the past. Others believed they were left as reminders, so that no one would forget who once saved them. One explorer, standing before the largest monument, spoke quietly into her recorder. "Maybe they're still here, not asleep, not gone, just waiting, watching us grow." The stars above her seemed to shimmer brighter for a moment, as if answering her. Back on Earth, time moved differently. The planet was quiet but not empty. Wind brushed across its oceans. The forests that had grown over the old cities whispered softly. Beneath the soil, deep in hidden vaults, the sleeping ships waited in perfect silence. Every so often, one of their lights flickered, a pulse like a breath. Inside the largest chamber, the core of Earth's fleet still glowed faintly. Its final command was simple and eternal. Guard the living, and somewhere, in that deep humming silence, if you listened closely, you could almost hear a voice, calm, familiar, filled with quiet strength. "Rest well, children of the stars. We are still here." The camera would fade in a film or story, showing the Earth from space, blue and bright, surrounded by the same stars it once protected. Then, in the distant darkness, far beyond the Milky Way, a shadow moved. Not a threat this time, but a spark of light, a signal of something new. A world being born, a sign of life. And far away, the ancient systems of Earth quietly logged the event, storing it in their endless memory banks. A soft pulse ran through the planet's heart like a whisper. The galaxy lives. Mission continues. And with that, the light dimmed once more. The story of the humans, the ones who had once vanished only to rise again after 500,000 years, became more than legend. It became a promise that even in the coldest night, someone, somewhere, would always stand up for life. And when the stars trembled again in the far future, when the darkness began to rise once more, the galaxy would look toward one direction, toward the small blue planet that had once saved them all, and wait. Because everyone knew the truth that time could never erase. Earth never truly sleeps. It only waits for the next dawn,